This week on the Cinema Psycho Show, it's Stephen King month, and we're diving into the world of teenage angst, telekinesis, and religious nutjob parents with 1976's Carrie, featuring our very special guest, Anastasia Elfman. Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
I'm so excited on this show. We're finally talking about Carrie, the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals. What a treat. A famous baseball announcer. This is going to be great.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Carrie. Let me tell you something.
I think that's the wrong Carrie.
Oh, wait. That movie about the telekinetic chick? I'm out.
Oh, really? So it's not like we planned like an entire month around Stephen King, and this is kicking off Stephen King month, right?
Yeah, this is the official introduction to Stephen King month. And I have a couple of notes about Stephen King, but I don't want us to ignore the other person in the room.
We have another person in the room? There's no goblins in my room. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Are you talking about the pumpkin that's behind me? For the video audience? Is that what you're talking about?
Neil Bog's goblin backwards.
Goblin spelled backwards. Yeah. Who's our guest, John?
I think we got a very, very pretty talented, incredible lady here, who is going to be our third today, who you may know, and if you don't know, get with it. And that is the incredible, amazing performer, Anastasia Elfman.
Woo! She's back again. She's
Surprise!
back again.
She can't get enough of us for some reason.
No,
you guys can't get rid of me. I'm sorry.
No, you just you still want to keep coming back. I'm like, we must be doing something right.
Just keep coming back. Yeah.
But we didn't have an episode last week, and that's my fault because I was traveling for work. So like, I don't know about you, John. I look at our numbers and I see the dip, and I'm like, oh fuck. Well, we screwed up this week because there wasn't an episode, but we're coming back fast because, as John mentioned, it is Stephen King month, and we're kicking it off with Carrie.
You know, for all of you, shall we say, little dippers out there, to get a constellation going. Yeah, for the dip and thing, like, we have over 300 goddamn backlog episodes. Like, come on, man, let us have a damn week off. Like, we're human beings, we have things to do. I mean, I'm not trying to come down too much on the audience, but there are so many episodes that you can go back and take a look at. I mean, come on.
I mean, here's the thing, John. I understand, because I'm looking at it as those are people who have probably listened to all 351 episodes of the podcast, which I love you. Thank you for that. But they were expecting one to come out on Friday. I had thought that I was going to be able to do one, but then just because I was traveling to Chicago for a podcast conference for my day job, I was like, you know, guys, we were going to do Snow White. We were going to do Snow White, and it just didn't happen. But we're giving you a Carrie instead, which I think is a little better.
A much better
Snow White
female lead. Yeah.
yeah. It's more up my alley. You know, it's more up my alley. Because I'll be the first to tell all this. I hated fucking high school. Hated it. John, what about you? Did you hate high school?
I was indifferent towards high school. Before we came on the air, we talked about, you know, that you guys, I think, had to deal with more bullshit than I did. I was very lucky that I wasn't bullied, nor was I a bully. As I mentioned, I kind of bullied the bullies because even though I was a shy kid, I didn't have any fear of dealing with the bullshit of people that thought they had power. Now, my class, I was very lucky in the sense that most of the kids like on the football team in my grade were huge potheads. And so they were like really chill. It wasn't like certain grades where it's like, I'm on the football team, so I'm going to torture everybody who's an undergrad student. You know, like most of the people were just like too high to bully anybody in my class. But yeah, there were times where like a senior would put his tray in front of me and lunch would be like, take up my tray, freshman. And I would just put his tray on top of mine and take it back to his table and be like, take up mine, bitch. And and they wouldn't know what to do because I called them out on their shit. So
I love that.
I was lucky. I was either shy, so I was either I either hid, or I like my complete compensation for that, where I was very outgoing and funny, and at least I hoped, and loud and crazy, and that made people laugh. So it was, I think, either my humor or my shyness has actually kept me from being bullied, which, so I was pretty lucky.
You lucked out. You lucked out big time. Anastasia, what about you? How was high school for you? Did you hate it? Love it? Indifferent?
Well, first of all, yes, you were super funny. So of course you survived.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of the weirdo, and I had severe dyslexia, so I wanted to do great and be accepted, but nobody knew how to handle that back then or even now. So yeah, it led to bullying and going back and forth, being homeschooled and then trying different schools to see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, who cares, right? Now we're all funny and okay. It made me funny.
We're okay.
Well, Anastasia, the funny thing is, it's like, the kind of people that bullied you probably work at their dad's mattress factory in your hometown. You're like, I'm famous, bitch. Mic drop. And
Right?
look at all this.
Yeah.
You're bald.
Hey, I'm bald.
Oh, but
Hey, I'm
not
bald.
as handsome as Brian.
Wouldn't that be great if I took off a wig?
I would be surprised.
I would be too.
You're like, I was surprised the hair was there. Yeah, I also, very similar to you, I also had a really, really bad time with high school. Not as bad as like in middle school and elementary school. Like that was worse. Mainly because like in high school, I found my tribe. You find the other weird kids, and that made it easier. But I was always considered the weird art kid. I went down the goth kid path because that felt more comfortable for me, and that kind of stuck. If you look at my wardrobe, it's all black shirts still. Will always be that. But it was definitely like I was flipping off high school once graduation happened. And I'll spoil this for y'all. I was rooting for Carrie the entire time the movie was happening. I'm like, yeah, fuck those kids.
yeah, adds up. This makes sense. They all deserve it.
Okay. Because let's be honest here. Like, Anastasia, you and I were bullied. How many times did you just like have a moment after school when you're like, I had to deal with all this shit, from these assholes for 8 hours while also like doing work and stuff. And you're like, yeah, you know what? I wish I had magical powers. And especially if you saw Carrie around the same time, you're like, yeah, that would have been cool. Didn't you feel the same way? Because I know I did.
Oh yeah. I mean, I always, whenever I watched a film, I always wanted to have those special powers or go on those adventures or be those people. That was the goal. And that's how what helped me get into acting, because I'm like, oh, okay, so I don't have to be like a paleontologist. I can just play one on TV.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool if you were a paleontologist.
It would be. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. People are disappointed now.
You could be a paleobotanist like Ellie Sadler.
There you go.
But no, there has to be something, as macabre as it sounds, this movie has to be kind of cathartic for a lot of people that had to go through a lot.
I think it is. I think a lot of people, here's the thing. I never advocate for any violence towards anyone in a school setting. That's horrible. But I think that while you're dealing with this shit, that you can kind of, have those feelings. I think that's normal. But I totally get it. Now, John, since it's Stephen King month, do you have some Stephen King knowledge that you want to drop on us about this movie?
Yeah. I guess some basic Stephen King knowledge and a little bit about comparisons with this movie, because I don't know about you guys, but I have read Carrie. I've read a lot of Stephen King. I
I
call him.
intended to read Carrie or at least do an audiobook for this episode, but it didn't happen.
I don't mean to. I don't mean to be rude and shit on the guy, but he is, to me, he's the king of like the B- players in the sense of like, if James Joyce and Ernest Hemingway are Citizen Kane and Casablanca, then he's Avengers Endgame and Fast and the Furious 5. I don't mean that in a rude way. He's just very pop culture, very, plugged into quick beach reads. And
There's
I don't
nothing
know.
wrong with that, though. I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
there's anything
yeah.
wrong with that.
I don't know if I just insulted Stephen King. I hope not, because I've read probably more of his books than any other author.
Like,
But,
dude, I love trauma films, and they're oftentimes schlock,
Yeah.
but I still love them. So there's nothing wrong with that.
So Stephen King is now amazingly, because cocaine allegedly is a hell of a drug. Well, it's not allegedly. He talks about it in his book on writing. He's 65 novels deep. So
Wow.
65 novels. That's not
Wow.
counting, I think, countless short story compilations that he has done. And there have been, not counting sequels based on his book that he didn't write, like Children of the Corn 2, 3, 4, or remakes. There have been 60 adaptations of Stephen King books into movies. So, and
That's crazy.
I think it's closer to 85 if you count remakes like the Pet Cemetery and It remake, the TV miniseries, and again, like Children of the Corn 2, 3, 4, 5, like that aren't based on any book he's written. They're just sequels to the movie. So, and I think for every one of these Stephen King episodes, we should talk about Stephen King tropes, because he's pretty transparent on certain things that he talks about all the time in his work. And this one, I think, has 3 huge ones. And that is his obsession with telekinesis. Religion is scary, which I agree with him.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that.
Bullies who are essentially sociopaths, that these are not normal bullies who like maybe give you a wet willy or a wedgie. Like, no, in his movies, his bullies are crazy people.
Did he do Sometimes They Come Back?
Yes.
Okay, then
That's
yeah.
based off of one of his
Yeah,
writings.
yeah. He always seems to make the bullies like homicidal maniacs.
Mhm.
And I gotta wonder, like, who hurt you?
Yeah. Show me on the doll, Steven.
Who hurt you?
Right here.
Right here. Like, I imagine he was someone who was bullied relentlessly as a kid too. Because if you suffer, like, here's the thing, a lot of trauma comes from bullying that I don't think is talked about nearly enough. And I think, with him, he probably channeled a lot of that into his characters and really like amped them up to like an 11 in terms of that. Do I think they were that horrible in real life? Probably not, but in his mind, they were.
Well, I think of It and the bully in that, like, his friends almost have to talk him out of cutting the throat of a black kid. Like, it's like, that's not a bully. That's a murderer.
That's
a
murder.
racist murderer.
It's a hate crime.
A fun fact about this movie is that it was casting simultaneously with Star Wars.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Brian DePalma, who I call Baby Hitchcock, and I call David Fincher Baby DePalma, is they were casting at the same time that Star Wars was, and a lot of people auditioned for both movies. Like for example, Sissy Spacek, I know, auditioned for both Carrie and Princess Leia, and I think that Carrie Fisher might have also auditioned for both films. The main good guy in this movie, I'm sorry, I forget the actor's name, the one with the amazing curly golden locks.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
The greatest American hero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who could it be? He auditioned initially for Luke Skywalker and then was told, hey, you should actually go audition for this Carrie movie. And then there's somebody like Kurt Russell, who has had an amazing career, but he auditioned for both Han Solo and the John Travolta role in this film and didn't get either. Poor guy. He did all right for himself.
That Kurt Russell's never gonna get a big break. I don't know what's gonna happen to him.
But and the last thing here, I just want to give a couple of differences between the book as compared to the movie. So for Carrie in the book is actually fairly overweight and has like bad skin, that has zits and pock marks and stuff like that. I guess the idea is Stephen King needed to give a lot of reasons why people would other her. Which when they cast Sissy Spacek, different kind of thing where she plays more of like a waif who is, tiny and scared, and she's an easy target for that kind of thing. In the book, Carrie's mom is even worse. So if you've only seen the movie and you thought, boy, her mom was terrible, she is much worse in the book. Stephen King does not hold back. In the book, at the end, she stops her mother's heart, but that's not great visually. So in the movie, she uses her telekinesis to have a bunch of knives like stab her all over her body so that she looks like she's been crucified at the end of the movie, because visually that's a lot better than stops her heart with her mind. Carrie has more powers than just telekinesis, because at one point her mother's refusing to let her go to the prom in the book, and she starts to have rocks rain on the roof of the house, and she says, I will continue this and they will smash through the house unless you let me go to prom. So she can conjure things out of nothing, which I think is like, that's more than telekinesis powers. She's almost a god.
I almost imagine like they couldn't put those in there just because of the technology of the time. Like
Brian DePalma even said that. He said that, the destruction that to try to shoot something like that would not in our budget. And then lastly, Carrie in the book destroys a lot of the town as well. Like she leaves the school and destroys so much of the town as well, where they just kept it sequestered to the gymnasium, which was a set they built because they had to set it on fire, which is ironic because then the actual school that they shot in around it ended up catching on fire years later.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. The school caught fire, ironically. I think just even like a year or two ago. So
crazy how art becomes life.
Yeah.
Or life imitates art, one or the other.
So that's my Carrie knowledge.
Carrie knowledge.
That was great knowledge. And I wish that they would have added more of that. I love just like I could visually see those like stones and rocks falling on top of the house. That would have been great.
I would have liked to have seen that. Now they have made other versions of Carrie that have not really lived up to like the original.
Well, let me ask the both of you: have you guys seen Rage, Carrie 2, whatever it's called, or the Carrie remake? Did you guys see either of those?
Well, here's the thing: there's actually 2 remakes of Carrie.
Oh, snap! Okay.
Yeah. Angela Bettis of the movie May. She did a remake that was almost, I'd say, like almost like a TV movie back in the day, like in the early 2000s. And then yes, there was also the more recent one. And then yes, I did see the Rage Carrie 2. And honestly, like none of them really hold a candle to this one.
God, no. Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the 70s like feel to it, or if it is more or less like just that vibe, or if it's just like with the most recent one, it's way too like CGI-esque, and it just doesn't really work.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a beautiful imperfection to this movie, because I'm not gonna lie, as much as I love this movie and I love Brian De Palma, I love Sissy Spacek, I love it all, is that this movie it's sometimes is a weird movie. It makes weird choices, and you know, there are times where people are talking the movie and they fast forward it. There are decisions that are made that are bizarre. There are long shots and spinning shots. It's like, what are you doing here, bro? You know, it's just, so it kind of reminds me in a sense of Gremlins, where it's just kind of like this beautiful disaster, but that
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
don't
weird.
disaster is not right word, because I think this movie's great, but it's just like there are just some things where you're just like, what the hell what were you going for there? You know?
Yeah. Anastasia, have you seen the other remakes to Carrie?
I have not, but now I kind of want to. I just haven't felt the need to watch any of them. I mean, like for me, the film Carrie is so intense because I kind of had like an overbearing mother. So, and it's also like
Yeah.
wild, like experiencing all of this as like a woman too. So,
Oh,
it's
well,
not,
that's the
it's
thing
not,
is,
it's not my like total favorite. I don't know. I mean, it's a classic, but it was interesting also when you guys were talking about the way that Carrie's mother dies at the end. And for me, when I was rewatching it, I was like, okay, so this like Jesus statue in the prayer closet is almost foreshadowing like a mere copy of the mother. Like I was looking at the hair, it's so fluffy and crazy, like Piper Laurie, and it's like the exact pattern of stabbing that he had. I don't know if you guys caught that.
oh yeah, no,
Of course, right?
well, no, the foreshadowing in it, like it doesn't make sense why it's there until it actually hits you, and you're like, ah, okay. I also gotta ask, who thought it would be a smart idea to put a creepy like Jesus with glowing eyes in a closet?
I can
When
answer that.
Uh, uh, well,
Yeah.
John, please.
That is actually Sissy Spacek's husband, who was a set designer. Who they met on a film 2 years earlier, and they've been married for 46 years. And
Wow.
he was actually the person that when she goes in the shower to go, hey, there's something weird happening between my legs, he's the one that puts the fake blood on her hand for her menstrual cycle. And if that's not true love, I don't know what is.
That's when how did you know you fell in love with a person? Well, he was giving me fake blood between my legs, and I'm like, well, okay, well, that's it. Oh, well, speaking of that scene, do we want to dive into the plot of this film and kind of cut through it? All right. So this movie opens up in one of the weirdest, like semi. I honestly felt like icky watching this again, like, and maybe it's because like I'm like, these are high school girls, and I get it. No one in this movie is actually a high school age person. I understand that. Yeah, they're all like 23. Okay, this was the 70s. Every high schooler was really 30. Okay, I get that. But my point is that this movie opens up with this gym scene, and then it transitions to this really soft melodic music that really is a great theme that honestly keeps getting repeated and retooled over and over again throughout this whole film. And then it goes inside of a girl's locker room, which I'm like, I kind of feel uncomfortable about this part.
Yeah. Well, Brian DePalma, not to get the director confused with you, like he loved at this time bringing kind of, I would say, awkward sensuality into things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll tell you, there's a big difference between watching this when I was 13 and compared to when I rewatched it for this episode, where I'm like, when I was 13, I was like, yeah, let's go, and now I'm just like, this is gratuitous and awkward, and I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, Anastasia, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this opening scene in the locker room.
It it was a lot. I mean, I don't I don't know if we needed it for that long and the slow motion and everything. It was like, were we in there like for 40 minutes? It felt like.
It felt like 40 minutes and it was all slow-mo boobs. And I'm just like, really?
I can see the Palma off camera. Soap up your tits. The camera's on. Soap up your titties. You soap up your ass.
Listen. I also was 13 years old one time, and when I saw this movie, and I get it too, John. But I don't know. Maybe it's just like, this hasn't aged well. It really hasn't. I don't think it was good then either, and I don't think anyone pointed out any problems with it then. But I really find this whole opening sequence kind of problematic. I get that it leads us into kind of the whole reason why Carrie loses her fucking shit, and it's that these kids terrorize the shit out of her, right? She has what is arguably one of the most important moments in a teenage woman's life happen in public. She's never been told what that is. There's a lot of fear and anxiety, and then these fucking assholes just start throwing shit at her.
Boy, she's a late bloomer, by the way.
They pointed that out to her.
Yeah, but no, I think that this is the dark side of the 70s film revolution, because it was almost entirely, if not entirely, from a male point of view, where I think that DePalma was like, well, this isn't the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s anymore. Like, I'm gonna show how transgressive we are, and just how like nothing's safe and nothing's sacred. But I'm gonna do that by showing a bunch of like wet boobies and buttocks, and it's like, and pubic hair, and it's like, bro, that doesn't make you cutting edge. That just makes you kind of misogynistic. It kind of, it's the male eye, the male gaze on the female form, where I think he thought like, oh, if I show nudity at the beginning of the movie, then nothing's safe, nothing's sacred, because it's the 70s, and like, I'm gonna shock the audience,
Interesting. I mean, I do like the shark like contrast where everybody's like in a way bonding and playful and lively, and then we have Carrie who's solitary and alone and almost behind a veil of smoke.
Yeah. No, it's very dreamlike and also very nightmarish. Like, you would be remiss to think like, oh yes, this is a nightmare sequence. And I've seen movies that have pulled very much from this sort of slow-mo nightmare sequency type thing, but it's very real, and like the gym locker room, again, I'll pull to myself, rife with bullying all the time. So like that makes sense. I think that tactfully it's not done well in hindsight, and looking at just like, that I think they could have done it differently. Maybe not have just been so damn exploitative. I don't know. Crazy concept there. At least in the first 2 minutes, it's like boom, but
we're going back to like Carter was president. Okay, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, totally different world. But also, it's interesting when you think about the film, and once we get into the prom, and we're seeing that, like, okay, so we're seeing this story from Carrie's perspective, and it's like, at what point, like maybe it's like everything is from her perspective. So maybe that's not all happening in real life, in the locker room. Because I've been in a few, and it's not a party like that. Like, everybody's like avoiding and feeling awkward, and even the bravest of the braves are not like running around nude.
Yeah, no one does that. No one does that.
I mean, maybe boys do, but girls are kind of
don't.
like
they don't.
It's so far, I don't know about the kids these days, but
the gym locker room I was in high school, no one did that shit. It was very much just like, keep yourself. There's always one guy who's just like, Yeah, I'm gonna walk around bare ass. But it's like, okay, dude, we
That's
get
gonna
it.
be the guy at the the gym, like as an adult, like as an old man that's just got his balls hanging next to you while he talks to you. But
Yes.
interestingly, just talking about locker rooms, at my school, we had like a pit, like a dark, disgusting shower pit in the guys' room. And we were doing like tornado drills or something of that nature, or bad weather drills. And that my class got put into like the ladies' locker room as part of the drill. And I was like, these women have separate shower stalls and like it's beautiful in here. I'm like, we have to shower in a goddamn hole. But you guys get
'Cause
these,
we're
like,
men,
separate
John.
shower stalls. Yeah.
We don't get luxury.
Luxury of a wall.
I was
We don't
like,
get
I'm like,
luxury of separation.
this is bull crap. But
Oh.
interestingly, my father, who doesn't really seem bothered by too much in film, the whole plug it up scene,
Yeah.
like, really bugged him. And I always found it very interesting because my dad, for as revealing as he was as somebody who was probably suffering from narcissistic personality disorder, it would tell me everything to a fault. I don't really think I really knew him, but like there's something about that scene that really bothered him. I don't know if it was the bullying, if it was the the sexual nature of it, of getting older, but that really bugged him, which I always thought was very interesting as a
Well,
kid.
it's absolutely horrifying. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing is the movie starts off with an absolutely horrifying scene. And it just doesn't let up. Like that's the thing is this movie very much comes out of the gate swinging. Because immediately after this, you get what I think is even worse, which is this bizarre conversation between the gym teacher and the principal, who
Cassie,
who in essence can't be bothered to even remember Carrie's name, and like comments on like, oh, well, why didn't her mother teach her about this shit? Even though they all fucking know that she's the town crazy. Okay.
Yeah. She's the town religious loon.
Yeah.
But
But it's just the disregard for how extreme this act of bullying is, I think, equally as horrifying.
Well, sorry, just to go back real quick, because I just want to talk about blood as a metaphor, is that this should be something, if she was protected, that this is a welcoming into the first stage, I should say, of female adulthood. Obviously, when women get their first period, they are far from adults, and we're not mentally fully cognizant until 25. So
We're saying this as dudes, by the way.
Yes.
Just want to point this out.
I love hearing your perspective on women's.
I just want to say we have a lady here, John.
Well, I want to hear her perspective after
let him continue. I want to make sure that he gets to talk about women's let's say
bodily autonomy.
Yes. Please tell me more.
Oh, John.
I'm saying this, I think, from a perspective of a male director on this movie, is that that she is robbed from her journey into maturity, that when she has pig's blood dropped on her, that I think that is almost a callback, that now her maturity is almost forced on her. And I mean that in the sense of her telekinesis. So that now her powers have matured fully. And I think it's a blood reference callback to the trauma that she experienced, which should have been, if it was in a safe and protected place, and a good thing of her entering into the first stages of womanhood. Anastasia.
Anastasia, I love your point of view.
Yeah, no, I'm teasing you guys, of
Yeah,
course. You know this. You know
yeah,
this.
yeah.
What do I say? How can I follow that? That was beautiful. um yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a problem with her mother. I feel like her mother is stunted and can't acknowledge that her daughter is going to be a woman and going to be an adult eventually, and she needs to control. I mean, we get aspects of that even just with Carrie opening the front door. She can't do anything on her own. Her mother has to like have her thumb on everything, you know. And so this was another example of like her mother trying to control something that's not Carrie's fault. This is a natural thing. And she even says, like, why didn't you tell me about this? You know, she's like basically made a laughing stock because she didn't know something that was just a natural part of life, you know, for ladies. Um,
What's
and it's
even
unfortunate that it
yeah.
was such a trauma because it is nerve-wracking, you know, as a woman to experience those things, especially as a teenager already going through hormones and then put on, you know, like this kind of crap that affects your mood, a body, everything, you know. So watch out, everyone. And
Well,
we have to still deal with things and pretend that this isn't happening to us,
right.
you know.
Well, I think the other thing too is that not only is she dealing with that, but then immediately is hit with her mom accusing her of being a slut and like demonizing her. Like she's had the worst fucking day and is not even let up the minute she gets home. She's thrown into a fucking closet with a creepy ass fucking Jesus doll, and her mom is calling her a slut and a whore.
Yeah,
It's like, what the fuck?
I mean, it can't get worse, but then it does.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, that's I think that's the most upsetting thing about this movie is that Carrie has no reprieve in any way, shape, or
Mhm.
form. Like you would hope that, say, maybe if a kid is horrifically bullied at school, maybe he has supportive parents, or if a kid has terrible parents, maybe they have an okay time at school, you know, or something. But she comes home from the worst day of her life to the worst sociopathic parent you could possibly ever imagine, and her just desperate to say, like, Mom, why didn't you tell me
Yeah.
what it is to go through puberty? And she's just like, fuck you, go in the shame closet, you stupid whore. And it's just like, God damn, she never gets a reprieve.
No.
You know, it's like, I hope she like gets to watch MASH or something. You know, something to give her any kind of happiness in her life.
Give
Yeah.
Carrie a break.
Give
Yeah,
her-
I know
give this
this
girl a
whole
break.
movie, it's like you're just on the edge of your seat hoping that she makes it out okay and that somebody's nice to her and that she can comprehend, like that she can understand and accept, and you want her to get away from her mom, and you're hoping that, you know, certain aspects of the story aren't a trick, you know. It it's so stressful.
Well, she does end up getting a little bit of a reprieve in that one of the bullies, Sue, convinces her boyfriend Tommy to go take Carrie to the prom. And you might think like, oh yes, she's gonna fuck with her, you know, or something like that, because as we've talked, like Carrie literally gets shit on left and right in this movie. But this is actually a genuine like trying to include Carrie in the high school experience and give her kind of, you know, a win, you know?
Yeah, because the only person she has is like the gym teacher is the only person who
Yes.
gives her the time of day at all. But yeah, like Sue is kind of our like I don't even know what to call her.
I wouldn't call her a
but
protagonist. I mean, she obviously realizes that she's in the wrong.
she's like, yeah, oh, we're all big pieces of shit because we treat this human like garbage.
Yeah.
And actually convinces her boyfriend, the non-Luke Skywalker, to
The
Like,
greatest American hero.
yeah, the greatest American hero. Yeah, to take her to prom. And like even the gym teacher even goes like, "Oh, what's your angle?" And she goes, "There's no angle. I'm actually trying to like be a decent human being."
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's like, I even know I'm not going to prom because there's a whole thing where the gym teacher punishes all the girls for the plug it up scene, and we get some of the weirdest porno music you've ever
Oh my
heard
God.
as the gym teacher has them doing like detention calisthenics. And I'm
I
like,
think
Brian
it's-
DePalma, what you doing, bro?
I think it's
Is it-
worth mentioning in a little side tangent here
Yeah.
on some of the weird fucking shit in this movie that really only a movie in the 70s can get away with.
That's why I called this a beautiful mess.
So like I counted, I'm curious your thoughts here. John and Anastasia.
Yeah.
But I counted 2 weird instances of the same theme music being run through what I'm calling 70s distortion city filters. So it turns it to, now, like it literally makes it 70s porn music multiple times. Okay.
But
varying
not just
levels
70s porn
of,
music, Brian, but like that weird part of the porno that's funny where it's like we didn't come here for laughs,
yeah.
Mr. Porn Director. Stop trying to put your like comedy into this. We just want fucking.
And it's always during the montages. So like you mentioned the montage of the workout scene where all the bullies are basically being tortured with physical activity. And then later on when Tommy is going to get a tux and him and his buddies are out there and I kid you not, they literally sped up the film.
That's a choice.
That was a choice. Yeah. Some editor decided, hey, you know what might be cool is if we speed up the fucking film.
Here's my logic.
For no reason.
I think that
there were reasons. There were reasons.
Well, Anastasia, what's the reason? Tell me what the reason is.
Well, if you think about all of the time they spent on the slow motion, the editor had to make it up somehow. And he's like,
okay,
at this scene, we can just speed it up.
We're just gonna run it through.
Who cares about the guys getting tuxes? Like let's get this going.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Here's my theory on it.
John, what's your theory?
I think everybody and their mama is talking about the fact that this popular kid just asked out Carrie to the prom, like the social pariah, is that everybody is talking left and right. They're getting their hair done. Other people are talking about it on top of like the scariest ladder you've ever seen in a gymnasium. Is that I think the idea was to be kind of counterculture was, okay, what if this whole chitter chatter and this banal lowest form of conversation you could have, what if we sped it up and took all the agency out of it? Because like this is all just absolute garbage conversation and you don't even need to hear it. We're just going to speed through it because this is the lowest form of conversation.
That's a very artful and very educated approach to it. I'm going with Brian DePalma was like, I don't know what the fuck to do for these fucking montages, man. Like,
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
He's in the editing bay. He's like, I got all the scenes cut except for these fucking montages. What weird 70s shit? What?
I just had this idea. Okay, it's gonna fucking rock your fucking world, man.
Please continue, John. What does coked up Brian DePalma sound like?
Okay, all right. So what if it's just like went super fast, like the way I hear everything right the fuck now, and then I can actually hear it because you guys are working at a snail's pace, man. I've been up for 39 hours, and I want to punch a fucking hurricane in the fucking face.
Okay.
And I'm so happy I'm directing Star Wars. What? Carrie? Oh, that's mine? Oh, yeah, Carrie.
Well, since we've had that tangent of montages and weird 70s shit, and coked up Brian DePalma. Let's get back on track with the movie here.
Actually hurt my nose sniffing that much.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
no.
talk a little bit about the bullies, and namely Chris and John Travolta, also known as Officer Ann Lewis.
Yeah, the funny thing was, like, when I first saw this movie, I'd already seen Welcome Back, Kotter. I had seen Saturday Night Fever, and like all the movies that he was in that were age appropriate for me to see at the time. So I remember like renting this from Knight's Video Store in my hometown. Shout out to Knight's Video Store. And it was like, I was like, holy shit, it's Travolta. And he looks like Bob Marino from Welcome Back, Kotter. Like, you know, it's because he was like basically an unknown when he did this, but now I like, as somebody who, when he was a film star, like I giggled when I saw him the first time I watched it.
Anastasia, what about you? What are your thoughts on seeing Travolta before stardom, and also the role of Chris, the head asshole bully?
Is that his official title?
That's what I'm calling her. Is yes, Chris, the head asshole bully. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I mean, I didn't realize that this was isn't it Travolta's first film?
I don't think this is Travolta's first film.
No,
it's very close. It's
Okay.
very
Close.
Yeah.
It's real close.
Okay.
I'll check.
John's gonna check.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bullies are so terrible, aren't they? And they're terrible to each other. It's so abusive. They're like smacking each other left and right.
Yeah, no, Chris is one of the worst instances of a bully. Like, I think she would put Mean Girls to shame. Like, I really believe like that. One, she wants to, you know, not only does she want to like utterly humiliate this poor girl in front of the entire school and dump pig's blood on her, but then like later in the movie she wants to run her ass down.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to fucking kill her. Like, that's a choice.
I will say this is obviously not his first performance. He like did some like TV and other stuff, but this is his first, I'd say, big film.
Yeah.
So let's call this our introduction to John Travolta, because other than that, it was like a couple of episodes on this show or that show or movies that nobody's ever seen. So yeah, let's call this our John Travolta.
And Travolta in this is basically a quick to beat his girlfriend bully.
He is a violent doofus.
Mm-hmm. He is a violent doofus.
Yes, that's a perfect way to describe him and the character.
Violent fucking doofus.
Which, interestingly, when I first saw this film, I almost laughed at Chris and Billy, you know, Travolta and his lady, because I kind of thought they were like a hint over the top and their interactions were kind of goofy. It wasn't until we got to the pigs part where like I have a soft spot for animals and I'm really troubled by animal violence in movies. And obviously no pigs were harmed in the making of this production, but just to see him swing the sledgehammer and the audio people do the squeals and post-production and everything, I was like, I fucking hate you and you traumatize me and I can't wait for you to die in the movie, you know?
Well, even his goon friend is like, I'm not doing it. Like, he's like, I'm not killing these pigs. But Chris and Billy have no problem doing it, like, at all.
No, and Chris is like egging him on, like cheering him on to do it. And I don't know, I hadn't seen the film in a long time, and I don't know if it was trauma because I too love animals and I can't handle if it's like it's little kids getting hurt or in danger or you know, animals. And it completely erased from my memory that we had that scene. And so rewatching it, I was like, no, we're not going to see this. I hope not. But it was pretty intense. I was almost going to fast forward it.
Yeah.
That's one of those like nightmare moments where like these people are so cruel. It's so deep rooted, and that they can like enjoy this and have fun going to kill some poor animal.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to the horror of the story. Like let's just even go back to the novel, is that it could have been written in a less satisfying way, that they just made fake blood. They had corn syrup and red and black dye, so they could just drop it on Carrie's head and it would look like blood, like hardy har har. But the idea that they would just get drunk and in the middle of the night go out and sledgehammer a bunch of pigs to death, I'm like that amps up the unease for the audience. Like it's not terrifying, like it's deeply unsettling and it creates unease, but it's not horrific in the sense of like what we see later on in the movie, but it's another way to make the audience uncomfortable, which, in a controlled way, which is what horror movies do. It's another way to make the audience feel uneasy, which is what you hope to do when you're telling a horror story.
Very true. Very true. And that then leads us to prom night and some crazy shenanigans ensuing. So Carrie is she was reluctant to agree to go to the prom with Tommy. She then agrees just to shut his ass up. And she's excited to go to the prom because she's going to do her makeup. She made herself a dress and she's about ready to leave when her crazy batshit mother decides that now is the time to start really losing her shit. And like, she does some weird fucking stuff in this. Like, she's like, just tell him you're not going to go. And then when that doesn't work, she starts to hit herself and like pull her hair and like start talking to people who aren't there, like Jesus. And yeah, it then leads to Carrie kind of, exerting her power on her and pushing her down. And I think this is like the first real time that Carrie is intentionally using her power. Because up until now, it's always been reactive and almost like a reflex, but it's never been like, I'm intentionally going to use my power. So it does foreshadow that something's going to happen because we know the circumstances that lead into this. And it's one of the things I love about this movie is that it racks up the tension so that when we see Carrie use her powers on her mom to shut her crazy ass up, that then it tells us like, oh God, something's going to happen at the prom that's going to cause a reaction, but we don't know how explosive it's going to be.
Yeah, it's almost relieving for the first time that we see Carrie like standing up for herself, and she's not going to get any help, so she has to make her own dress. She has to do her own makeup, which I know from many women that I've talked to that like the ones that are really good with makeup were taught by other people in their lives, and the ones that aren't as good like maybe had more sheltered life where it wasn't as encouraged. But yeah, it's just Stephen King must have done a lot of research on sociomyopathy of like people who are I don't want to use the incorrect word, but like psychotic. The mother is doing everything she can to absolutely manipulate her daughter in the most disgusting, disturbing way possible. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, he must have done a hell of a lot of research on this stuff while writing this book, which wasn't easy back in 1976. He had to go to the library and do the Dewey Decimal System, hit up the card catalog and find some books, to research what it was to be a sociopath. So,
but then we get to prom because Carrie does definitely go. And at first you're thinking like, hey, everything's cool. Even though in the back of our heads, we know the blood is coming. And this it's important to note that the blood being dropped on Carrie is only required that she wins prom queen. And I didn't catch this at the first time that I watched it, but I caught it this time, that they had another plan in place as well to manipulate the votes. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, these fucking bullies are next level devious because they manipulate the votes so that Carrie and Tommy do win. So that it guarantees that she will be, have blood dumped on her head.
And this is after the most nauseating 360 dance scene.
Oh my God.
That goes on for about 49 minutes of
Yep.
them dancing in a circle. And then the scene that the cinematographer almost quit the movie on, which was, again, Baby Hitchcock, where he's like, follow through people to the blood, to the people behind, then back to the table where the highlight goes on Carrie as she wins prom queen. And this is before, it's right around the same time that the Steadicam was really invented. And it was done for the movie Rocky and then used 2 years later for Halloween. Is that a brilliant man whose name, I apologize, has escaped my mind right now. He did the math and the science to create like a weight and balance system that he could walk with the camera and it wouldn't shake.
Yep.
Because in Rocky, they said, okay, you have to run up the steps with Rocky, but we don't want the camera to shake the whole time that you're running up the steps. So he created the first like body rig where the camera wouldn't shake. This was before or around the same time it was coming out, but they didn't know that. So the cinematographer had to do this all by hand, by foot, by body. And he basically was like, DePalma, go fuck yourself.
But such a good shot, though.
Yeah.
He
pulls it off. He pulls it off. Yeah.
It's a great shot. I was like, wait a second. Okay, so, they're gathering all of the votes. I was like, okay, we're not cutting. Yeah, it was a great shot.
And it just, like, you've got that shot coupled with the music, right? That music that's kind of like cueing us, the audience, that, oh God, this is all happening in real time. Like, I think that's the thing is, like, if it was just kind of a traditional, like, we cut here, it wouldn't really feel as tension filled. But like, because we are following the rope and following up to the blood and then following it back, and then we see Sue look over here, and then we see the gym teacher look over here and go, what are you doing? Get out of here. And then it's all tension filled. So I get why they didn't like it, like shooting it, but man, it's such a great sequence. Such a great sequence.
He pulled it off. And
he pulled it off.
You know what? I'm sure that's on his reel as a cinematographer.
Oh, absolutely.
So for all of his bitching, I'm sure
you mentioned cinematography, and before I talk about the blood scene, it's worth mentioning that the cinematography in this film is really unique for any horror film at the time. Like, they are using the whole split focus lens deal where I love that style. I really do.
Brian, for our audience who aren't in the know, can you explain?
Okay.
I know what you're talking about, the split. Yeah.
Okay. So if you've ever seen a movie where you've got one person who's really close in frame, up close to the camera, and they are in perfect focus, and then behind them, usually over their shoulder, whatever's behind them is also in perfect focus. That is a split focus lens. It's actually a specific lens you use for that. But this movie does it in spades. They do it every single time, and they do it in a very creative way to kind of give you this idea. I almost kind of felt it was like there's a scene where Tommy is in the poetry class with Carrie, and we can see Tommy's face in clear focus, taking up majority of the shot. But then we look behind him, and Carrie is like leering on him because she has a crush on Tommy, but it's also in perfect focus. So it's used for creative means to kind of cue us into who we should be kind of focusing on. And in that instance, it's Carrie focusing on Tommy. That makes sense.
The first time I ever noticed it was on Back to the Future. Because like before I had any language of what it was to make a movie, I just kind of took things at face value. Like if so-and-so's talking and there are people walking down the hall, they're going to be out of focus. Like, but I didn't have that language. I just said, that's what a movie looks like. And for Back to the Future, where say the scene where Marty pushes his dad out of the way of the car and gets hit by the car, and you can see Marty almost completely in focus, like on the ground because he's been hit by a car, and then you see his dad's sit up and he's in focus as well. Like that's the exact same shot. And to me as a kid, I was like, I didn't have the words to describe it. I was like, oh, that's not what I've seen in a movie before. You know,
Right.
that's out of my understanding. Like things are blurry there, they're in focus here, but for two things to be in focus at the same time because that's how they're telling the story, kind of threw me for a loop. But in this movie does the same thing.
Yeah. So outside of the cinematography of the split focus, getting back to the prom, the blood happens, okay? And it happens in one of the most awesome ways possible. It's super slow-mo. We see it happen. She's covered in blood, and we know that things are about to go crazy. And this is where DePalma kind of throws the fucking kitchen sink in this movie, in that he's got split screens, he's got flashing lights, he's got everything in terms of how you're going to actually show this mania. But I got to ask you all this question. So John and Anastasia, I got to ask you this question. Do you think that everyone was laughing at Carrie in the prom scene? I'm really curious what your thoughts are.
No.
Anastasia, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're seeing a lot of her perspective, and she's embarrassed and she's terrified and she doesn't understand what's going on, and this is her reality, and she's like obviously hearing her mother warning her that this was going to happen. And just like to go back to what you were saying earlier about it would have been one thing if they just filled it up with fake blood, but either way, that was such an embarrassing situation to have in front of the whole school while you're like this wallflower of a, teenager. To experience that in front of everybody is insane. So I would go with either way. She probably would have killed everybody.
They're all gonna laugh at you. But the thing that tips me off is when the gym teacher is laughing at her, and it's like this is in her head. She is going through hysteria right now.
I think they call it a psychotic break.
A psychotic break, yeah.
I think that's what it's. But yeah, I the first time I saw this movie, I didn't catch that, and I thought that they actually were all laughing at her, mainly because kids can be fucking cruel, like really they can. So like I didn't put it past them, like yeah, they're fucking laughing at her. But upon rewatching, I'm like, no, maybe like the Bullies are, because I think they absolutely were.
Like PJ Souls,
like they absolutely were. But I think more of the students were horrified, as everyone else was. I think the gym teachers were horrified. I think everyone was fucking horrified by it. And I don't know if they're necessarily sympathetic, but I think they were horrified by the situation. So in that sense, you kind of feel bad for what she does next, which is completely kill everyone in the most horrific way possible. Like she's dousing them in water from a fire hose.
Yeah, see, this kind of reminds me of, for our Simpsons fans out there.
Yeah.
And I apologize if you guys aren't Simpsons fans and you don't know what I'm talking about. But Ned Flanders is like the greatest goody two shoe character in the show. But there's an episode where like Ned fails and they try to rebuild his house after a big storm. And it collapses around him, and he absolutely just unleashes on everybody in the town, just shitting on everybody. And it's one of those things that we've all been at that point where it's like everybody's going down because I am that level of motherfucking pissed off right now. And that's what Carrie is. But one thing that has always really bothered me about this movie, and I know that it's a micro budget, but the initial blood drop
That bothered you?
The initial blood drop bothers me because it only covers like maybe an eighth of her skin, and I know that they had one shot, and then they went, okay, cut. Hey, film crew, hose her down. They just covered her head to toe in blood. I'm like, that she's not head to toe in blood. That thing like just kind of hit the side of her face a little bit. But they went, well, nobody's gonna notice that. So just now cover her in all the fake blood because she needs to be head to toe. Or
listen, John, you don't know what her telekinetic powers can do to the blood that's on her body.
I
don't know.
Let's not nitpick continuity right now. Not at this point.
You're nitpicking you're nitpicking a movie that managed to, during one of their montages, speed up the scene like a tape, you know. But yes, let's comment about the blood drippage. Yeah,
that's what offended. I love that.
Yeah, that bothered John. Took him completely out of the movie.
He's
that's
like,
not realistic at all.
He doesn't even know how it ends. He was like, I'm done.
Yeah. I can kind of just see like DePalma went, that didn't hit her right in the head. Is there any way we can clean her up? It's like, we got this lot here for another 2 hours. It's like, oh fuck it, just smother her in blood, hose her down. We don't have time to reshoot. Hose her down.
But yeah, the way that Carrie kills everybody is kind of interesting because I always thought like she just electrocutes them, but no, she doesn't. She like douses them in water. She electrocutes them. She mashes their bodies with like whatever furniture is in there. She's locking doors. And then on top of that, she electrifies the microphone stand. Like she does that.
She's getting creative.
With the very creative.
I too was like had a false memory of it. Just everybody just burning alive.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Kind of, if you were to ask me, you know, like, can you bet money? Like, let's say $5. How does everybody die? I would have been like, everybody's dies in a fire. Is that what happens? And then rewatching it, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So we're just going to electrify this poor guy. And then see you later, PE coach. You're going to get slammed in half.
She locks them all in.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I remembered that point. That's distinct. But everything else, I don't know, like, what
she turned into Jigsaw. She just turned into Jigsaw with telekinetic powers. That's what she did.
I mean, sometimes you get bored.
Take your freedom was in Nancy Allen's asshole.
Yeah. But yeah, she does eventually light them all on fire and makes them all burn alive because why not? And this is when, you know, she's walking out of the She's walking down the road, and sure enough, Chris and Billy try to run her ass over. Which I'm like, of course you are.
Well, outside of them being human pieces of garbage, like they have now met a human god that can do anything.
Yeah.
So I can understand them wanting to kill them outside of them being
But
the
if you
shittiest people
just,
I've ever met.
but John,
Yeah.
if you just saw a human god do all of this, would you then decide, I think I'm going to run their ass down instead of do what I think I would do, which is run away, turn around, run the fuck away.
Well, I mean, I think that the Billy character has no common sense. And
Chris was the one saying run her ass down.
Well, yeah, she's she is the little antichrist on her shoulder, on his shoulder. But yeah, no, like that's kind of who they are.
Oh.
You know, like it's like fight or flight. They're fight instead of flight. You know, and they get what they deserve.
They do get what they deserve.
It speaks to their character. They're like so evil. And she looked, I mean, if memory's serving, because I just watched it, but she looked so happy to try to like kill Carrie.
She wanted her dead.
Think, like literally, she had a front row seat to all of this mayhem and chaos and kids dying, all of her best friends, so-called best friends. And it's like, you would think that would have some kind of an effect on her. And it doesn't. And she's like, let's go party.
No, it's murdering time.
Well,
yeah.
That kind of mentality is fascinating to me because, as we've mentioned, neither three of us are our bullies, and two of the three of us have been bullied. Is that like, could you imagine being so cruel that you enjoy hurting somebody so bad that you gotten to the point where you're so inhuman that you go, let's just murder them now?
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
I mean, I know that every bully has a backstory, and I get that. Like oftentimes the person who is bullying the weakest of people is also someone who is bullied as well. I get that, but I gotta say that it's a little cathartic when Chris and Billy do get blown up.
No, because you know you're not supposed to think of them as deep, like multi-leveled human beings. That they're characters in a movie, so it's like let them.
And
die.
and let's be honest here,
not real.
Let's be honest here. The characters in this movie are not very deep.
No,
they really are not.
This is the first novel from a guy who wrote 3,000 fucking novels.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, in terms of level of deepness, this is very shallow surface level of characters. But you know, they blow up, and then Carrie decides that the next best thing to do is go home. And
where else are you gonna go?
Where else are you gonna go? And sure enough, who's waiting for her but her crazy ass fucking mom? And
behind the door.
Behind the fucking door.
Which, before we get to that, can I just say that like she has one of the creepiest lines in movie history. It came a couple of scenes earlier before she went to prom, where it's like, once you start menstruating, the boys can smell it and they come sniffing. And I'm like, oh Jesus God.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say I liked it. I liked the smell of his breath and all that shit that she was talking. She was talking about how Carrie's dad, basically, they didn't have sex and had a whole marriage where they didn't have sex, slept in separate beds. But there was that one time when it happened, and she goes, I liked it. I always thought that was over the top as all hell.
or the naughty pillows or
The dirty pillows.
dirty pillows. Dirty
Naughty
I can
pillows.
pillows.
see your
Yeah.
dirty
Yeah.
pillows.
The culprits, mama. But I'm sorry. Yeah, so mom's behind the door. That's where we left.
Mom's behind the door.
That's where we leave mom.
And we think that maybe mom might have chilled out a little bit. No. No.
I never thought she like standing behind the door like a mannequin. That was not my first thought. Mom chilled out. I think mom's raging.
I think we would have hoped that mom might have chilled out, or, seeing that Carrie's like deeply upset that she had to kill her entire high school. Maybe not like try to stab her. Maybe not try to do that.
That's not what we're supposed to. Oh, okay, good. Okay, writing that down.
yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
Well, we always knew mom was like gonna lose it when we like just cut to her like chopping carrots. But not chopping carrots. Like she's clearly had a mental break. This is not gonna end well. Or even if Carrie was like voted prom queen, everybody said like we're gonna start treating you better, and they're like, yay, I have friends now. And she came home. Mom's still gonna fucking try to like kill that bitch. This is not gonna end well.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like pacing and seething the whole time. Like she probably like paced, holes in the floor. And then we have those overhead shots of her just like going to town, just like chopping nothing. Just practicing, I guess.
She's practicing to chop her daughter.
Yeah.
Because she stabs her. And it's a shocking moment. Like I'm surprised Carrie didn't think that was coming. Like, as I figured, like she would have known that her mom is unhinged. But I think that it was a shock to her that she didn't think her mom would try to physically kill her. Like that, I think, was always her comfort zone. Was her mom, for how crazy and batshit she is, still was a comfort.
It's the same thing for, not to compare humans to dogs, but it's the same thing like the dog that runs to the alpha in the house.
Yeah.
And he kicks the dog every time it runs up to him, but the dog still does it, because it, like, and her only a semblance of emotional contact is her mother, because what we probably don't see is some level of decency or like, wiping, like she's little, wiping her daughter's ass, or like dressing her for school, or any number of things that like, this is my caregiver, no matter how damaging she is. This is my only semblance of acceptance, even though it is probably more problematic than even my relationships at school.
Yeah, that's fair to say. I know for me, I was kind of shocked by it. And then kind of what follows is more or less Carrie kind of just decides that she's going to kill her mom because she has no choice, right? So she uses her telepathic powers to throw a bunch of knives at her and turn her into the Jesus doll that was in her closet.
Which I thought was very poetic.
It was very poetic.
And this, as I mentioned earlier, in the novel, she stops her mom's heart through her telekinesis powers. And that's fine for a book, that you're reading. But this, is a visual medium. Mm-hmm. So for DePalma to turn the murder into something that can be so visually interesting, like all these knives flying and stabbing her, and her screaming what should be in pain, but DePalma's also this kind of weird fucking pervert where she almost seems like she's orgasming.
It is a little bit of
yeah,
enjoyment.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's a little strange.
Yeah, they visualized it. They movied it. From what it was in the book.
Now, the one thing that bothered me about this ending, and I didn't quite understand it, and I still don't understand it, is that Carrie then decides to like crush the whole house with her in it and the mom. Like, I guess what bothered me about it was that, for me at least, like, even though she was stabbed, I don't think she would have died. I think she would have been okay, but she decides to like take her own life and destroy the house along with her.
Here's my theory on this. I think that as we see her earlier in the film researching telekinesis at the library, is that she has no understanding of her ability or her power. You know, even when she's talking to the principal early in the film, and he's like, "We're so sorry this happened to you, Cassie," and like he said it like 2 or 3 times. She goes, "It's Carrie," you know, and an ashtray that's on the table flips violently over. Is that she didn't have any control? She didn't, in her mind, say, "I'm going to flip this ashtray." It was just a product of her power, and I think that when she's brought to her maximum power, which again, as a guy saying this, I do think that this is maybe possibly a metaphor for menstruation, like going through what it is to be a woman, is that, and the power that holds and the fear that men have what that holds, is that she doesn't understand her full sense of her power because she's never been educated on what it is, or ill educated by people that have a vendetta.
Interesting. Anastasia, I'm curious your take on that. What do you kind of see with the ending? Because like as I said, with the ending of her destroying the house, I almost saw it as like not necessary, but John, your point, you know, it's almost like she fears her own power at that point. But Anastasia, what are your thoughts on the whole destruction of the house?
I mean, I feel like there's a version of Carrie where she's finally free. And I would have liked to see her walk away from that and just leave town, you know, because there's nothing there for her. But I do understand, it's like her mom was like God to her, you know, and she worshiped her and trusted her. And so she like throughout this film, it's like her mom keeps on like fucking her over, you know, and then they're stuck in this like circle of abuse and codependency, and you can see it play out like when the mother first gets mad at Carrie, and so it's like these big explosions, and then she gives Carrie time to figure it out, and then they come back, and it's just this whole circle that you think is going to happen again at the end, and it doesn't. And so I don't know. I'm on the fence. I mean, I enjoyed this ending, but also I feel like for Carrie, I wish that she had a happier ending.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like I'm like, this woman has had nothing but shit for like 90 minutes.
Yeah,
and she can't even cut a fucking break after she's finally taken care of all those assholes in the high school. But
that's 70s music or 70s movie making for you.
Yeah, I know. Well, here's the thing: the real ending, because that, like, you could have cut the movie right there, but this movie does what I think is one of the best, like, holy shit shock moments, for the actual ending. So let me set this up for you. After this happens, Carrie's dead. Carrie's mom's dead. The whole house is collapsed under. And we cut to Sue, who is the only survivor of the massacre because she was placed outside the high school when all the stuff happened. So basically the gym teacher saved her life. But she is asleep. She's having this dream about going to the site where Carrie is buried along with the house and everything. And at the
That's
site,
how that works.
yeah, because of course,
If you tunnel into the ground, like they just put a gravestone there.
yeah. But
yeah.
in this like very sweet, you got the sweet music playing, the same theme. It's very ethereal like, and Sue is going to put flowers down at the sign where it says Carrie White is in hell or some shit like that. And what happens? Which the first time I saw this movie, I kid you not, it freaked the fuck out of me. But Carrie's hand pops up out of the ground and grabs hold of Sue, and Sue starts having this hysteric attack. And it's brilliant.
Is this the first jump scare?
I don't think it's the first jump
scare. Ending jump scare.
I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know. But I know that I was 100% for it. And I remember watching this. My mom and I were watching it the first time, and she was like, "Oh, you gotta wait to the end. You gotta wait to the end." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Wait till the fucking end." And sure enough, that end, I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like I jumped out of the chair that I was in. Granted, the time I was like maybe like 11 or 12 years old, and I'm like, "Holy shit, that's so impactful." I love that ending because it ends the movie on this last like get you scare that clearly Sue's like having a psychotic episode as well from all the trauma of seeing all of her friends die, and it's just absolutely brilliant, and it's what ends the movie in.
Well, here's a fun fact about this scene, and this is the madness of Brian DePalma, is that he had the actress, I can't remember her name, but he had her walk backwards for all of the scene so that he could reverse it in post-production and make it seem kind of unnatural because we don't walk the same way backwards that we do forward. So yeah, he purposely had her walk backwards all the leading up to her kneeling down to the grave, so that he could reverse it and make it kind of look, not natural. And that's why we have what I call the Streisand filter on the lens, where it has like that Gaussian blur over everything.
It's like someone smeared Vaseline all over the lens.
Yeah. And I remember watching a documentary of like the 100 greatest scares in movie history, or one of those kind of things. And I don't remember where Carrie fell, but I remember Stephen King being interviewed for it, where he said that he went into a movie theater like opening weekend for Carrie, and when the hand came out and grabbed our main protagonist, that he said the people around him jumped out of their seats and ran out of the theater. And he said, he turned to his wife and said, "This movie's going to be huge."
What a great experience for him.
Yeah. Anastasia, you love that ending?
I do. I mean, again, the slow motion was getting me. I was like, come on, like, let's get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how wild.
It's so good.
It's so good. Because, like, you're like, okay, where can they take this really? Like, what's going to happen? And then, of course,
it gets you.
It
just gets you. So good.
But what's brilliant is it's not a jump scare for jump scare's sake. Like I think of, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, where at the end of that movie, Jennifer Love Hewitt's sitting on the bed and then she's grabbed under the bed, and it's just absolute garbage. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, hey, we gave you one little extra scare so you maybe threw your popcorn, and maybe the guy sitting next to you now will get lucky because you've been spooked or something, just absolute fucking garbage. But this one, the scare at the end speaks to the nightmare that she's going to have to deal with for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the post-traumatic stress disorder that she's going to have to deal with because she teased Carrie White as well. And she waited too long to fix it. And a nightmare happened because she didn't do more. And you can say it's not your fault across the board, but she's gonna have nightmares for this for the rest of her life because she was a product of Carrie White's massacre.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Yeah, she could have spoken up at any point. And then also the whole thing of she was trying to save Carrie and she wasn't able to. And so she's got to have like massive guilt about that just to begin with, let alone, you know, all of that happening after with everybody dying. So that's got to be tough to live with.
Yeah, I think she's gonna be screwed up, and I haven't seen the Rage Carrie 2 in a long time, but I know Sue is a cameo character in that film as well. But yeah, I love that ending just for the simple fact that you think as the audience member that you've got a reprieve because Carrie White is dead, her house is gone, everything, and then that ending just basically says, I'm not letting you go without one last scare, and it's so brilliantly placed. I think, and it's just so simple, you know. It's a simple scare. It's not elaborate. It's not like we're gonna have blood and gore. It's a very simple scare that I think everyone can relate to. I think we've all had nightmares like that, so it's. I understand why people ran out of the theater.
Well, Brian, I don't mean to jump the gun on like my final thoughts, but I just want to piggyback.
I was gonna say because I got reviews next, John.
Okay, well, well, just you saying, you know, the simplicity of it. This is, as a point of reference, this is one of his skinniest novels. His first novel, and that it has to have been so much easier to adapt a book like this because Stephen King used to know the importance of brevity. He's lost that ever since. I remember
That's how you really feel, John.
Well, I own Under the Dome, and it's like 900 pages, and I'm like, God damn! It's like it's going to take me a lifetime to read this book, but it's easier to adapt something like that, and I think that's why over time, it went to mini series for Stephen King's because they're like, okay, we need maybe 2 hours 3 times over 3 nights because his books are so goddamn long. Because cocaine is allegedly a hell of a drug, you know. So even after he got off cocaine, he even wrote more pages. But yeah. But anyways, let's get to the reviews.
Let's get some reviews. All right. These reviews, for those of you who are first-time listeners and watchers, John and Anastasia have not seen these. You don't know what these are, right?
Johnny and Annie have not seen.
Okay.
Can confirm.
Okay. Can confirm. So these are pulled from Letterboxd. They're not all bad. They're actually, for the most part, pretty good, but they point out to some really interesting things. So let's go to review number 1. This movie has everything. Female rage, beautiful imagery, pig's blood, high schoolers with receding hairlines, a teacher who loves to slap, the craziest prom you've ever seen in your fucking life. Carrie White burns in hell. Love it. Love it.
I saw that that's kind of a recent review where it's like the world has radically changed. Where it's like back in the 70s, you probably could just smack a student.
Oh my God. The gym teacher is smacking everybody around. She smacks Carrie. She smacks Chris. She smacks everybody. It's like, fuck you. I'll smack your ass. I don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, in today's day and age, it would be a lawsuit from the parents, but like back in the 70s, it'd be like, hey, the teacher smacked me today. And so it'd be like, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do to deserve it?
What did you do?
70s, baby.
It's like, well, I threw menstrual pads at this one nerd girl, and you deserve to get slapped. Like,
oh, fuck! Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like everything they mentioned is like, it was a different world in the 70s.
Man.
I mean, almost, that's like 50 years ago. It feels like 150 years ago. Yeah.
It does. All right, ready for review number 2?
Yep.
Yes.
Review number 2. Good for her.
Right?
Good
But
for
yes.
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 Good for her.
Good for her.
As I mentioned earlier, William Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit.
No.
And good on that review.
Good on them.
Yeah.
I got to go back to it again. Good for her. With 13,181 likes. I love that so much.
I mean,
that sums it up, though. It's perfect.
I mean, we can talk about the efficacy of high school kids being murdered left and right, but the whole movie sets it up that everyone sucks, and can't we wait for Carrie to kill them?
Yeah.
So, again, good for her.
Good for her.
It's a movie. We
It's
don't
a
have
movie.
to think that deeply about it.
No, you don't. And as I said, anyone who has been bullied in high school, you've thought, you're like, you could sympathize with Carrie. You're not actually going to do it. And again, I don't advocate for anyone doing any violence to anyone, because that is fucking crazy. There are better ways of solving this. There's better ways of dealing with it. But let's be honest here. In your mind, you've thought that. Review number 3. Ready?
Let's go.
The review number 3 is to think this could have all been avoided if her mom just told her what a period was. Very true.
Well, I think
Very
that's
true.
a gross oversimplification.
No, but like part of it is true, right?
But they're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
I mean, she was still horrifically bullied long before she menstruated. At the beginning of the movie, is she fucks up the volleyball game, and everybody just kind of like smacks her around and like, thanks a lot, asshole. So it's clear that she is unloved and just brutally beaten down emotionally by everybody.
But here's the thing, John. Don't you think that? And again, I'm talking about this as a parent. Don't you think that that's a point where maybe the parental instinct kicks in, and like maybe you do tell your daughter about what the fuck is going on with your body in an intelligent way that isn't clouded by Jesus bullshit?
Well, I think the menstruation to me is a metaphor for her growing in her telekinesis.
Yeah, almost. It absolutely is.
It's not like her mother has horrifically destroyed her emotionally long before she had a period. So I'm just saying that I don't think that her menstruation is a catalyst for anything. I think that she's already suffered and is continuing to suffer regardless of her menstruation. She would still be going through this.
Right, but the mom's not doing any favors.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Fuck no.
And Anastasia, I think you're in the same boat like me. Like, the mom could have just said, this is what this is.
It's kind of like, I mean, I see both ways. It's like, it's only a matter of time for these bullies to do some huge kind of like fucked up thing to Carrie. And this just happened to be the thing that triggered it. But yeah, I mean, the review isn't wrong.
No, it's not wrong. Mom should have just like owned up and been a mom for once.
Yeah, and even she could have even done it in a Bible way. Like, there are so many easy ways to communicate this with a human that even I think Carrie, who is so sheltered, could probably figure out, because it seems like she's very smart and she can handle a conversation and she can keep up to speed,
Right.
So yeah, that was a big fail on mom's part, and
Big fail on mom's part.
it's like, why didn't you tell her?
Well, you see, honey, when David threw the rock at Goliath, he bled too.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
See,
jeez.
even that would
Watch
have helped out.
Veggie Tales.
Any of these like versions would have helped. Would have been more helpful to Carrie.
Yes. Yes. Any sort of parental.
Any analogy, we could have gotten the Easter Bunny in there, like help her out.
Could have talked about the stork, any of those things.
She thought she was dying. Like
Yes.
that's where she was coming from. And to not get helped and to be ridiculed and laughed at, like this is so extreme.
Well, I will say this to anybody out there, and I don't mean to ruin your mother for you, but if you did not get proper sex ed training from your mother, she was either the village bicycle or the church lady.
What?
What?
I don't say that she's either the village bicycle and she doesn't want to admit that she knows every move in the book, or or she was the church lady who doesn't even understand what a hand job means. So everybody.
Wow, John.
If you had a run-of-the-mill mom, he's the one that told you, like, yeah, here's what sexual penetration is.
God, I don't
think I want that conversation. I think it's more like I'll figure it out for myself. All right, let's go to review number 4. And review number 4 is Carrie White slimed the Nickelodeon Teen Choice Awards. Oh my God.
Do they mean blood? What is?
No, just slimed, like regular slime, like slime, green slime, not blood.
Wait, can we read it again?
Yes.
We read it again?
Carrie White slimed at the Nickelodeon Teen Choice Awards.
And the Nickelodeon Award goes for worst shitty ass mom, Carrie White.
Carrie White, and then she gets slimed. And then she kills everyone at the Teen Choice Awards. Oh shit! I love these reviews. Sometimes they're really good, and sometimes they hit on levels that I'm like, I didn't even think about that.
Well, they're so random. Like sometimes they're like really deep or really shallow, and then sometimes they're like so random where it was like, I hated Nicolas Cage's mole. I couldn't masturbate. It's just like, oh my God. Like, what are you talking about? So
and that one gets like 20,000 likes on.
Yeah,
on
exactly. Yeah.
Of course. Oh, well, final thoughts on Carrie. Anastasia, you're the guest. I'll start with you.
Oh no. Final thoughts? Man. Kick-ass film. Slow motion. I don't know. It's so intense. Like edge of my seat, feeling for Carrie the whole time, wanting to be there and stand up for her. There were scenes where I'm like, I wish that the characters could communicate better, like with the gym teacher asking some of the students, like, what are your motivations? And I'm like, wanting to speak up for the kids. I don't know. Wild. Crazy film. Love it.
Love it. John, your final thoughts?
I heard certain film critics talk about, and I can't remember their names, I apologize, that they said that there's no such thing as a perfect film because a perfect film doesn't take any chances. And I think that this film is a beautiful representation of a director willing to take chances. And does he hit mostly? Is he batting close to 1,000? Yes, he is. But does he have a couple of misses in it? Yeah, but that's what makes a film great, that you're willing to take leaps and bounds, and sometimes you hit and sometimes you don't. But overall, the greater aspect of the film is much better than the negative of the film. And I love watching a movie like Carrie, because I'm like, there are things that are kind of confusing or baffling or odd in this film, but it doesn't take away from the film. Like, this film is still great, but it speaks to me the idea that, you know, you could never make a the perfect film, because
Right.
you have to take a chance. And De Palma took a lot of chances with this film. Some work, some don't, but it doesn't take away from the overall quality of the film.
Very true. Very true. My final thoughts are simple. I think if you are someone who was bullied in high school, that you will sympathize 100% with Carrie White. And I think there's something to that. I think we've all had revenge fantasies against people who have wronged us. And that is in essence what Carrie is. It's what would happen if you did have the ability to, you know, take revenge on people who wronged you, you know, and who took advantage of you, who made you feel like othered and all of that stuff. What would you do? Again, do I think that you should turn those revenge fantasies into realities? No, I think you shouldn't. But this does it in a very smart way that I think you end up sympathizing with Carrie more than seeing her as the villain. You know, I think it's a shame what happens to some of the people who tried to help her, but ultimately that ends up happening when people do take revenge, is that there is blowback, and there is, you know, casualties that happen that aren't intended. So you could kind of cut it that way as well. But I think it's also a really nice capsule, like a time capsule of a style of movie that I don't think exists anymore. Like, one being representative of like the 70s, but also just like it's a goofy fucking horror movie, but it's really good. So that's my final thoughts. Now before we take off for this week, Anastasia, you've got some news, right? You've got some news that you wanted to talk about, right? So what news is going on with you that I actually had to make a scene for this?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Um, so on June 7th, there's going to be a screening of Return of the Living Dead 3
And I'm going to jump to
during
the scene. See? Ha!
Yep, there we go. Yeah.
Yay!
Yay. Oh, this is so great. Thank you. So, I was asked by our friend Brian Usna, who directed and produced the film, to come up with one of my wild pre-show performances. So I'm currently creating that, and I'll be moderating his Q&A after the film. And so it's going to be a wonderful, insane screening event at Shakagogo Film Festival in Beverly Hills at the Lumiere Theater on June 7th.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome.
And it says you're doing a bloody burlesque pre-show. Is there going to be a lot of blood there?
Just a little.
Just a little bit? Like
Just like
Carrie levels of blood?
I mean, hopefully. I don't want to tell the theater that, but yeah, that's what I'm aiming for.
And if I may, that's a great film to come out to, but also Anastasia, if you haven't gotten it yet by her being a guest on the show, she is insanely charismatic, insanely entertaining. Like, so come out for her alone. And I don't mean to be weird, but if like maybe if you're just kind of like a pervert, she has a very shall we say acceptable body. I'm trying to be appropriate here.
He's trying to be a professional.
Yeah, I'm trying to be professional here. So like you can come out for that, but also come out for her great observations about film and see a great film and have a whole experience. Don't miss out on this. Don't sleep on this. Check it out.
And Return of
Yes.
the Living Dead 3 does not get talked about nearly enough. I love Return of the Living Dead 3. It's one of those weird ones where it's a sequel that come from Return of the Living Dead. You're just like, whatever, I'll sleep on it. It is batshit insane. And I love Return of the Living Dead 3.
It's so crazy. We got to cover this sometime. It's so good.
Definitely.
It's so good. And thank you so much for the kind words. I really take those to heart.
Awesome. Where can people find more information about you? They want to, like, see more of your things that you're doing, like this and your films and all that stuff. Where can people find more information about you?
Yeah, I'm on all the social medias. Instagram, I'm under my stage name, Dahlia DeMont. Facebook, Anastasia Elfman. I'm on YouTube. I'm figuring that out. I don't know if TikTok's still around, but I guess I'm there.
Awesome. John, where can people find you on the internet?
I don't know what the internet is. Is that some kind of information superhighway?
I've been told that, yes.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, no, I'm on that. Facebook, Instagram, and over at YouTube. I do apologize to everybody who subscribes to JDove's Video Nasties, and if you don't, you should. Is that I've had a lot of life issues, nothing major, but just life in general, keeping me from editing my Men in Black video. But I swear to you, it's coming soon, and just bear with me on the wait. If you like my So Many Questions videos, it's coming soon, and just bear with me on the hold.
It's coming soon, and he's gonna slice in something in the video where it's gonna say something like, "See, here it is," and then it's gonna cut to it.
All right. I want to give a spoiler. I'm gonna have one point where it's Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith talking on a bench, and it's gonna cut to Will Smith's gonna ask a question. It's gonna cut to a close up of Tommy Lee Jones with no noise. Back to Will, no noise. It's gonna come back to Tommy Lee Jones, and I'm gonna put the biggest fart you've ever heard in your life, and just the wettest, nastiest part. And Will's gonna have a confused look on his face, and I'm just gonna put from Batman Forever, "Looks like a bad case of gas." Guess I'm a child.
Yeah, you're a child. Oh, I love
This
it.
sounds wonderful. I can't
love it.
wait.
I love it.
Sign
Well,
me up.
Of course, if you have loved this episode, please do me a favor and share it with your friends, share it with your family. On top of that, if you want to, you can follow this podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice just by going to cinemapsygoshow.com/follow. You can see it right there. Just click the little buttons down there, and boom, you can subscribe to us and follow us on your favorite podcast platform of choice. And of course, if you are watching us here on YouTube, hey, please do me a favor. Subscribe to us, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, hit the little notification bell, do all the things, because that really does help us out. It tells the YouTube algorithm that, hey, this is a great channel and a great video, and we need to share more of it. So please do me that favor if you've loved this episode. And with that said, we will see you next time.
Hi, Carrie here. Don't want to talk about baseball. I'll tell you, the infield fly roll. It's crazy.